Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are bringing freedom to potential with our
Woohoo!
coach. Yes, Randy Swaim joining us, coachingforrelevance.com. He's back with us today, obviously, to share his insights on the amazing work he does, helping so many, and updates on his education. I want to hear the book. There's just a lot to you.
Cool. I'll be glad to share some of that. So, yeah.
Great. Well, first and foremost, please tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do.
Okay. Well, I am it's kind of interesting. It's my career has been in aviation, and so that's been a big area, both military and mostly military, but military and civilian aviation for where my leadership has been developed and all of that. But I'm also a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach, and I'm actually becoming a Sherpa coach again. Their program is kind of coming back a little bit, and so that's good. And I'm also you can kind of see up here, but I'm also a master level certified neuroplastician for NPN Hub and Institute for Organizational Neuroscience. And so I work a lot with them. And so what I really do is the whole focus that I bring is on leadership and people really being able to perform. And I think you know this, Jill, that in my one of the programs that I have trademarked for me out of Washington is a concept called organizational maneuverability. And what that does is it brings pilot insights, it brings pilot leadership, vision, and all of that kind of stuff, insights to leading your team in a rapidly changing, unpredictable world where not everything is rote academic, and you're going to have factors come on scene that you would have never expected. And can your team, can your company, can your organization, and can you truly perform in that kind of an environment? And that's where people have to get a lot more focused on going forward. And of course, that's also true, guess what, in aviation, because when flight crews go up on a flight, guess what? Unexpected things can happen that you wouldn't have predicted. And can you perform it in such a way where true success happens and safety and all of that? And so that's sort of a central focus of what I do and where I bring. And I bring it to people that are trying to improve what they're doing and what their team is doing and trying to lead their team better. And I also bring it to flight crews and to jet pilots over at DFW Airport to bring a coaching and facilitated leadership style, but also a neuroscience awareness aspect to them, to make them more aware of how they can do things better and not just go to rote academic things. So it's that's kind of what I do, and it's what I bring.
Yay! Well, thank you. Excited that you're back here and talking to us today. I know we have a lot of updates. It's been a while, and you always have something new that you're bringing to the table. And I just want to remind everyone, please go to the website if you are out there today listening, coachingforrelevance.com. All right, bring it on. Another good conversation today, as always. Fill us in.
Cool. Well, I tell you what I thought I would do is give you a couple of examples, excuse me, of my background and my journey and everything, because it's an aspect of where I learned how to do this much better, and I saw some of the results and the benefits of it. And so, one or two of these I shared probably a year ago on a show, but I may just mention them again. But there was another thing that happened fairly recently, and by that I mean just in the last couple of weeks, that highlight that too. And what the thing I want to leave with the people that are listening is simply this aspect: in what ways do you think you need to rethink or retweak how you are actually interacting with your team members, and to make things happen magically? And you know what? Even if you are not there, and can they be successful even when you're not there, just dictating to them? Because guess what? Maybe you got sick and couldn't come in that day, or maybe you're on a trip, on an international organization or whatever, kind of thing. And a lot of people, kind of sometimes don't think about that, but it's not just about telling your people what to do at the moment. It's about building them and building their processing. And you know what, with the neuroscience aspect, this, I tell people, the cerebellum back here is where you kind of put your habit patterns. And that's where so many people today go. And, that is not what you want to do. The frontal lobe of your brain here is the one that does the processing.
Okay.
And there's very often when you're talking about an unexpected situation that comes onto your team or your strategy or whatever, are you aware and can you process that well in such a way that your team can choose the right successful answer and response and strategy to get there. And it's just a lot of aspects. But you know what? When you talk about leading your team and developing your team, it's not just about you telling them what to do at the moment.
Okay.
It's about you building their ability throughout the journey together so that when that moment happens, they're already ready for it.
Interesting.
And that's what a lot of people don't see today. And there's a couple of factors on that are really aspects when you're leading your team in such a way that they sort of the relationship and the connection that they have with you and how you're connecting with them in such a way that all that insight within them is growing and they're, wow, yeah, you know what, kind of thing. And a lot of that, when you talk about the leader, one of the things that I tell people is this, that it's not just about you thinking what you want to do and telling them what to do. It's not just about you kind of thinking of something right at a thing. What it is, it's a lot deeper than that. It's deep within you. How are they experiencing you as the leader? And in doing this together. And I will tell you, one of the examples that I shared on a show, I think about a year and a half ago, kind of thing, so a long time ago, was a situation that, and there were, I'll give just two quick examples.
Okay.
But there was one, this was back around, 1993, 1994. And I was working with a flight training organization here in the area. And I had a special aspect where I was, developing and leading and developing the instructors all around the country for this organization. And there was one day where I was, kind of in the instructor development process. I stepped up and I was going to be teaching this 2-day, little section and stuff. And what was interesting is on the very first day, immediately they started sharing a couple of things. We hadn't even started teaching yet. And they started complaining about some of the things that they had experienced and everything. And, not just with my unit, but just in their experience and everything there. And it's interesting because if you shut your brain off in the habit pattern back here and just listen to it, you think they're just bad mouthing the company. They don't like the company. What I did is I listened to them for just a few minutes. And by a few minutes, I mean probably 5 to 10 minutes. I listened to them. I acknowledged what they were saying. And what was interesting is that the guy that at the time was my boss, I saw him come out into the hall right where our room was in the door, and he was aware of the communication. He was going, and then I noticed he turned and walked around and down the hall, and I knew he was going to the center manager to talk to him and stuff. And I knew that. But what I did is I let them kind of verbalize some of the stuff. And what I realized is letting them get all that stuff out of them so that they're ready to go through the training. And I let them do that. And when they were done sharing and doing some of that, I kind of pointed to them, and I kind of threw a few questions out in some cases. So what do you think? What what do you need to think about now going forward? I understand what you're saying, and I got them sort of focusing on it for just a minute or two, and I saw the center manager come around, and he saw where the conversation was, and he kind of went, and he turned around and walked back away, at everything. And we went into a good 2 days of training. But what was interesting is after that first day, the center manager saw me, and he came over. We were just chatting, and he said, well, I'll tell you what, Randy, you did well. You did awesome with that. And I said, I just let them vent just a little bit to get it out of their system so that they're ready mentally for the training. And they did well in the 2 days of training, kind of thing. And then there was another, at a different organization, there was a case where I think I shared this some time ago, but I was supposed to teach a group of our pilots in an indoctrination sort of class, if you will, kind of thing, where they're kind of getting a sense of where we're going and all that. And and this one guy, interestingly enough, was a guy, he was an older fellow, but in Vietnam, he had shot down 2 MiGs. He was a good pilot for decades, kind of thing. And you could tell they were sort of venting, but as a leader, you realize that sometimes you have to let a person or two get the stuff out so they can function. And sometimes, now if all they're doing is just bad mouthing everything, that's bad news.
Yeah.
You don't do that, but to let them sort of get it out, I let them do that for just a couple of minutes. And when I say a couple of minutes, I mean probably 3 or 4 minutes. And what was interesting is after we had just a quick 3 to 5 minute conversation before we started the training, this guy looked at me and said, well, one thing's for sure, Randy. And I said, what's that? He said, I would follow you any day for any reason. And I went, really? He said, yep. And why? Because as a leader, I would sometimes listen to them to hear what their senses were and all this kind of stuff. And it's just interesting that a lot of that leadership aspect that has been developed in me for the last probably 4 decades, kind of thing, has apparently really shared itself. And I found, and I was actually told one time this week, just basically about a week ago, that I was scheduled to conduct a check ride for a guy in one jet airplane on Monday, but I saw that was moved to Tuesday, and there was like a basically 1 or 2 hour meeting that I was brought into and stuff later in the day, and the manager, who was my boss, humbled me in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because she said, well, one thing's for sure, because what it was a senior national executive manager kind of thing was coming down, and he was doing she said he was doing a roundtable event with instructors, and he's wanting to really kind of get a sense and that kind of stuff, have sort of a roundtable event. And she looked at me and she said, I want you to know something, Randy. And I said, what's that? She said, you're the only one he requested from our program.
Oh.
He said, he requested you by name. I said, really? Yeah. And so, when you think about being a true leader, it's not just about you dictating to them and telling them what to do. It's about interacting in such a way where even in trying times, you're building your team, and not just trying to make them exactly like you, just growing within themselves as to what they've got to do and what they want to become. And I tell you what, if you do that well, amazing results can happen. And if you think about it, that's a key aspect of leaders. It's not just about dictating and pointing fingers and telling people what to do and all this. If that's what you have to gravitate back to all the time, guess what? You haven't done your job, because you have not been helping to develop them along the way.
Yeah.
And that's a key aspect that a lot of people sometimes don't understand, and it's unfortunate. But as a leader, are you truly, regardless of what level you're at, whether you're a real high leadership role or just leading this team here or whatever kind of thing, regardless of what level you're at, when you look at how you're doing stuff, are you really just telling them what to do? Or are you truly going through a process of an ongoing way of really developing the potential, the insights, the visibility, the strategic thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and the success planning of your people? And that is a key aspect that a lot of people don't think about. But you know what? If you do that truly as a leader and you really develop that, not only do you develop the strategic aspect of their people to be really successful, but the other part of it is, as you do that, your people believe in you.
Yeah.
Your people connect with you. They
Mm-hmm.
want to become what you want. And this can be very different, because it's sometimes, if you have somebody in your team that is vindictive and control freakish and all that, you probably hired the wrong person. But how you correct them and how you stop that is a key factor. I think I shared sometime back, quite a while back, on the show, that there was one guy in a program that I was in that was he was not a manager. He wasn't in direct control of everybody, but he was constantly trying to control everybody. And there was one time where the manager, it was in a meeting, and the manager said something, and by the way, that manager was let go, kind of thing. But when he did that, this guy looked at me, because he knew I had a very different approach,
Okay.
and with a very kind of look on his face, he pointed his finger at me. And what I did is I
What?
smiled. And I just pointed my finger right back at him with a smile on my face. I
Oh.
just went, you know, I didn't argue with him. I didn't be vindictive. I didn't try to play control freak games, but I did let him know that that wasn't controlling me, for what he did. And the bottom line is, you got to think about, how are you truly building that oneness in your team? How are you truly building the oneness and the success and the growth and the becoming of your team on a day-to-day basis, so that when the unexpected, organizational maneuverability, unexpected, unpredictable events come on scene, they can already do it right. You don't have to, dictate to them, kind of thing. And that's a big aspect that people sometimes forget about, because people just get very comfortable with just doing every day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
And there's no growth there. There's none of that development. So it's just one picture of aspect of truly being a leader, and how are you really doing that. And for those that listen, I would say, so in what ways do you need to maybe modify or even grow and develop what you're doing, and so that your team really grows and becomes, and can become magically successful, even in an unpredictable situation. And it's something that leaders have to think about sometimes. It's not just a rote academic thing, tell them what to do, and then if it doesn't work out, go cast blame on something else. No, kind of thing. So it's just sort of interesting that when you're talking about it, it's just one aspect of truly being a leader, developing your team for radical success. And that's it's just something to think about. It's a little different than a lot of people realize.
Wow. I'm sorry, but when my kids are 7 and 9, they're in religion, and you have me like, people wanting to follow like Jesus. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
comparing you to Jesus, but like, no, like this is what you do to those you look up to, those you want to be mentored from, those you want to be like, those that you believe in, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. You have such a following, you know?
Yeah. And you know what? It is key, and it is key. And it's It's just amazing. And with the person and with the Lord that you just mentioned, without bringing a lot of religion into it or whatever, guess what? That's a lot of the ways he interacted, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so but it is, but as a leader, that's what you got to be thinking about. And that's got to be how you sort of vision it. Because guess what? Your people, you may have a sense of what you want your people to become, but because of the way you're doing it, if you're doing it right, they become way more than you even envisioned. And
Yeah.
you know what? If you do that, magical things can happen in your company. And but that's just something to think about that a lot of people don't realize today, and it's something that we got to kind of think about. So I just offer anybody who's listening the aspect of, in your leadership, maybe in your
Mm-hmm.
organization or in yourself, what are some subtle things that you got to kind of rethink, reapply, re-envision, and change a little bit on how you're getting there, and
Beautiful.
and it's just something to think about.
Oh my goodness. Well, we still have a few more minutes left in your show. And as always, action-packed, always insightful. And where are you in the world right now? Just curious. Are you traveling? Are you home? Or what because you're always somewhere doing something.
And you know what? And that's just about right. Or, right now, right now I'm at home, and part of it is because this is a little bit of a lighter week, but I'm still,
Good.
my two big goals right now are with Institute for Organizational Neuroscience over there with the neuroscience aspect, but also, uh, uh, kind of my coaching, but also the developing, pilots and flight crews and certifying them, but also developing flight instructors
Mm-hmm.
and examiners and stuff. And then one of the things that I have not given up on yet, I've had to delay a little bit, but one of the things I'm looking to do is to really uh, uh, continue my PhD studies and journey, and to get my PhD. And what it's going to be is how leaders need to, and the central aspect of what I'm doing brings neuroscience to it. And it's going to be how leaders need to rethink and reapply what they do to truly bring radical success, not just academic stuff, to their team. And so, using the neuroscience aspect and insights and everything, and that's going to be sort of the center of it.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And before we go, how do we reach out to you? What's the best forms of contact? And want to pick up a copy of the book? How do we do that?
I'll tell you what, it's all very easy if you just go to my website. I got to say, on the homepage, coachingforrelevance.com.
Yeah.
If on the homepage, if you go to the very bottom of it, it has my email and my cell phone number. As you know, I don't do sales pitches. I mean, if
Yep.
somebody has a need, yeah, we'll come up with something, but I don't do sales calls. So if somebody wants to just have a conversation, we can do that. But also, if you go, the book is on Amazon, and some of the people that have read it have made amazing comments. It blows my mind. And even the people that were sort of uh, publishing and stuff like that have said it's going to be a bestseller. But on my website, if you go to my website to the homepage, within about 2 or 2.5 or 3 seconds, a banner will come up that has the autobiography on it.
Hmm.
And if you go right, and there's a X in the upper right, if you want to just close that out, stay on the website, you can. But if you go right down below the picture of the autobiography, there's a little link that says "Get your copy." And if you click
Beautiful.
on that, it goes straight to the Amazon page where you can purchase it.
Great.
And so it's I'm honored to have it out there. I'm honored with the people that have read it, that have made the comments that they have. And I hope it just makes a difference in, even after I'm, take my last breath and everything. I hope that the insights and the story, makes a difference for
Absolutely.
other people around. So
Great.
but that's it.
Thank you so much. That's not that's a lot, and we're excited that you're here back with us as always, Randy. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will chat soon. God bless. And I don't want to say congratulations on your success. I do want to say that, but I know you're not about that. You're just so willing to help, and you don't care about your achievements and accomplishments, although they're widely vast. You got to do more research on him. But really, wow. Thank you for being our friend. I'll say thank you for being our friend. Okay. And we'll
Well, I'll
talk
tell you
soon.
what, I'm glad to be your friend, and you have a great one, and we'll talk again.
Same to you. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.